good afternoon to some of you, depending on which time zone you are. Welcome to this webinar from SmartDog Services. I have on the phone and on the webinar Scott Eloquin. He is our president and CEO at SmartDog Services, and he would be speaking to us about the EBS Homecoming webinars, the series, and what is the future for EBS for all our customers. So Scott, you're welcome to start right now.
All right, very good. Well, hello everyone. EBS Homecoming. I know this is a somewhat provocative title. I know it's a hot topic these days, and hopefully you enjoy this. The purpose of this webinar is really to talk through it's almost like the life cycle of an EBS customer, understand where we have all been, and based on the direction of Oracle, where we're going. And the most important part, and the real essence of this, is to help you understand the things that have changed, both since 2015 as well as this year, that really changed the landscape and the opportunity that is really available to EBS customers. We're also introducing a webinar series. It's the EBS Summit that actually started last week with Cliff Godwin, who's the Senior Vice President of Oracle Applications for EBS, to talk a lot about the changes that are in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to tee up the series, help you understand really what is to come. And by the way, this webinar will probably run about 25 minutes. So we're going to give you a lot of information quickly. If you do have any questions, please put them in the window, the chat window below. And Sushil will either interrupt me if they're timely, or he will wait till the end and ask those questions. If there are some things that are much more complicated or can't be answered on an open call, then we'll follow up with you afterwards to talk about that. So the first thing is that I think the one thing is that, again, I'm Scott Eloquin. I'm the president of SmartDog Services. I actually started doing Oracle applications in '95 in the old school speak, 10.6 character mode, back before a lot of the new stuff started to happen. And what we really have seen here is a real growth in eBusiness Suite over the last few years. And my goal is to give you a sense of where you fit within the spectrum and to help you understand really what opportunities there are to move forward. All right, so the future of EBS, what's the big deal? The mindset of EBS customers. When I was with Oracle Consulting, the way that we really looked at eBusiness Suite is this was the last system that you would ever own. You buy the software, the implementation, the people, the missed Thanksgiving dinners and Christmases, the long weekends to put it in, and probably just as importantly as the cost to implement this software is that it integrates into your customer model, it integrates into your business, it becomes kind of part of who you are from a customer service perspective. You see contract logic that's built into shipping information and into entitlements, and there's a lot of investment on that. And I think the thing that we saw in 2010 is a big shift in the market. And we're going to talk a little bit about Oracle from a cloud perspective, but the bottom line is Oracle started to shift their focus. It was kind of one leg in, not both, but there was a very clear change in direction. The next thing we'll talk about is really what happened in this last year. The focus on cloud, big picture, and on a move toward hybrid systems. And then we're going to talk about next steps as it relates to that. All right, first thing is, if there's anyone that has paid attention to anything going on with Oracle in the last 2 years, cloud, cloud, cloud. So Open World 2015, by golly, we are going to be the king of the world, the top of the heap from a SaaS perspective. And frankly, Oracle's made a lot of progress with cloud ERP, with CX applications, with marketing applications across the board. And frankly, the industry really supports that. If you look at the Gartner predictions, I mean, this is really just the tip of the initial iceberg, is that Gartner is looking at a growth of 18%, up $35 billion in revenue from the previous year, and 74% of tech CFOs say that cloud computing will have a big impact on their business. And for anybody that has paid attention to anything that Oracle's been saying, Oracle intends to be the leader in that space. Would love to look around the room and get the nods of the conversations you've had with your Oracle sales team and with the engineering team, because there's no doubt that this is Oracle's direction. And I think the interesting thing too is that I mean, when Oracle sets their mind to something, they're very good at accomplishing it. And this is not just about revenue. It's not about profitability. It's about valuation. And from a stock market perspective, there's a real premium on the valuation of those types of products, the recurring revenue, the subscription revenue model. And Oracle intends to be the leader. The thing that I've now seen is that, if you step back and kind of look at where the customers are, where their mindset is that, if you looked around the room again virtually and said, okay, who's the first one that did this in 1995? We have a customer actually currently in St. Louis that went on the software in 1993. I think that's the earliest one that I personally know of. We have other customers that bought in at Y2K. And I called this the new frontier. That was kind of when it was a brand new thing. And then the Wild West is when Oracle really started to ramp up and build a lot of functionality from financials to manufacturing, then adding on the customer service stuff. And then by the time Oracle got to 11i, it was kind of the gold standard. It kind of did everything. It started to basically be an all-encompassing model for the entire business. As Oracle got to 12.1.1, all of a sudden, some SaaS applications, you would see pricing engines. Oracle released transportation management. Oracle released order orchestration. You found that there are products being built by Oracle as well as by other people that sat outside the footprint, that were not part of the Oracle schema, that were intended to work within those big ERP applications. And now today, and that's a big part of the message for today, is hybrid cloud applications and technology, and really where Oracle's going with their newest releases. And for those who didn't have the chance, I'll probably plug this at least 3 times before we're done with this discussion today. Cliff Godwin's discussion last week on the new stuff that's coming out, that's currently out on 12.2.7 and beyond, is really, really very helpful in terms of understanding what you can and can't do with the software. All right, so before we go, I'm going to kind of talk you through, call it the history of EBS. This is really more the recent history. So again, as a consulting firm, we work with a lot of installed customers. So right now we have about 210 customers that are under contract. And of those customers, we talk to probably 2/3 of them at any point in time over the course of a year. So we tend to have a lot of line of sight. And the thing that's really interesting for those customers is, I believe, they were getting some mixed messages. So Fusion Financials was launched in 2010 at Open World. It was still a very, very new product. But then starting about 2015, the Oracle field sales team for applications changed their focus. The compensation was changed to be much more about applications that are in the cloud than on-premise. And Oracle moved their on-premise sales team to a much smaller group that's an inside sales team that's based in either Boston or in Minneapolis. There's about 100 people for the whole country that sells those products. And the guys that really believed in and were promoting and were pursuing sales of the SaaS applications, there were just a lot more of them. And so what we started hearing from customers is, hey, I'm being told that I need to move to the cloud, and Oracle's not really clear on whether they're going to continue to support eBusiness Suite. We're not really sure where to go with this product. And for a lot of our customers, I feel like there was a sense of, well, if we might be moving, we don't necessarily want to do a lot of repairs to the house. We just need to kind of tidy it up a little bit. So there was to me, there was a sense of a hesitation, a pause in investment when customers realized that eBusiness Suite may not be able to be their long-term strategic platform. Even though they may have planted those seeds years ago and they had mighty oaks growing, they weren't sure whether or not they could keep that tree in play. As a matter of fact, one of our senior consulting leaders, Casey Curtis, published an article for Profit Magazine that talked about whether eBusiness Suite might be the new legacy system. Is it kind of on its last legs? Is there investment? Where are we going? And about that time, I had calls from customers that said, hey, honestly, I'm not going to be able to upgrade to eBusiness Suite anymore because it's not going to happen. Maybe we should consider a third-party support organization. And we saw several of those really gain some traction. And then at the same time, we did see some customers that moved to SaaS. And in 2015, it was more financials with some inventory, some purchasing. We have seen the application gradually move out, but for some customers that were in process manufacturing or did customer service in the business suite, it wasn't really an option for them at that time. The ones that were in retail and financial services, they could run a complex financial system but didn't need more, so they could move. And so the bottom line is that we believe that customers were really unsure of Oracle's direction. Now, the thing that happened that honestly, it kind of rocked my world was 2018 is Oracle basically re-architected their cloud infrastructure platform. And for those who haven't heard of OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, that it actually was initially called BMCS, Bare Metal Cloud was the original name for that. But what they did is they took all the things that they had learned from the previous version, brought in some top flight engineering, and they re-architected it from the ground up. And frankly, it's really, really good. It was launched 2 open worlds ago. And so what we found is that Oracle Cloud Infrastructure now became a very, very strong player in the marketplace. And so, Oracle being Oracle says, who could really use our cloud infrastructure? Golly. By the way, everything I'm saying, I'm making up. I don't know exactly what they were saying, but it became clear to Oracle, I'm assuming that, hey, if we've got customers running Oracle applications and they can't yet move to SaaS, then why wouldn't we make it really attractive for them to move to Oracle's cloud infrastructure? So when Oracle basically launched their cloud infrastructure and they created kind of a new way to sell it, then over the last year now, they've been working really hard to reposition that product, to change the way it's licensed, and to make it so that it's much more valuable on Oracle's infrastructure than to run it on premise or on anybody else's infrastructure. Of course, as part of that story now, Cliff Godwin and his team released an extension of the D support to 2030. And I put that in bold because every customer I've told to is thrilled that, if they want to go to SaaS, they can. But if they want to stay on eBusiness Suite for a period of time, they have the option of doing that. And I'll tell you, the thing that really turned the light on for me, and this was a Mark Hurd presentation he did at Open World 2 Open Worlds ago. He talks about, he's on stage, he's talking about his car. And I'm betting Mark Hurd drives a pretty nice car. But the point he made was elastic demand is different. And what he said was, I've got a car and it's parked right out here. And I drive my car about 6% of the time, but I pay for it 100% of the time. And I'd love to pay for it 6% of the time, but I have to pay for it 100% of the time because I want my car to be available when I need it. I can go jump in it and I can go and I could do stuff. And because I can't ensure that it's going to be there, I'm just going to buy a car, I'm going to park it in the garage. Well, the way Oracle's pricing their cloud infrastructure, it's literally something that you can turn on when you're using it and turn off when you're not. You want to do a 2-month project, you need an environment, you're turning it on and you're burning it till you're done and you're turning it back off. You're going to be, if you're a company that sells jewelry and you're really busy at Mother's Day, then you could amp up your CPU and your storage, like the month before Mother's Day, and you could turn it back off, not off, but you could turn it way back down when Mother's Day is over and you're going into Father's Day, because nobody ever buys jewelry for fathers on Father's Day. So it's a different way of thinking, and it has a very different cost proposition attached to it. And then the other thing that I will say about the Oracle technology sales organization is that for the first time ever in the time that I've worked with Oracle, Oracle's always been very good at selling things, but what they haven't done is necessarily known whether or not you are consuming it. So Oracle's now moved into kind of a more of a consumption-based model, where they're focusing much more on what you're using as opposed to what you're buying. And it's created a whole different type of behavior within Oracle that if you've already experienced some of the cloud technology products, you probably have seen it. All right, so what does that mean for 2018? And what's going on with us? So hybrid is the new normal. So if you look at the application stack, there's a bunch more functionality in there. It does more, and again, Cliff Godwin, this is at least the second time now, there's a lot of information about what's in the software, module by module, function by function, that is available that you could do that you could never do before, enhanced functionality. The second thing is that they're moving an adaptive intelligence into the applications where there's a predictive model. The third thing, and I know that probably everybody here loves Row Navigate, beer mugs, and all the zones that have been in the applications for years, but the HTML screens are really part of the new normal. So as Oracle moves forward with the new screens, then the younger workers that are used to more of a dynamic HTML interface, those things are now being available. And by the way, HTML goes hand in hand with mobile, because many, many, many products have a natural fit on mobile applications as well. Hot patching has been discussed, obviously from a downtime perspective, but the bottom line is the applications do more stuff. The next thing is that if you move this on an Oracle platform, it really can perform better. We have several webinars that talk about some of the very specific benefits of what's going to happen there and what it will do. In terms of Oracle, they have a little bit of an unfair advantage. So now Oracle has the infrastructure, they have the middle tier and the database and the applications all in one place. So they're actually structuring bundles so that there are benefits to run Oracle applications on Oracle platform over other Elastic vendors. The next thing is that the platform that you would be moving to in Oracle's infrastructure is the same platform that Oracle runs their SaaS applications. So if you run Fusion apps for a division, if you run HCM, if you're using some of the new products, revenue management, all of those are sitting in the same infrastructure. So the integration gives you the ability to kind of look at convergence across the entire line. So I think the thing that's interesting is Oracle delivers, if this is a Lego kit, they've got a lot of different Legos. The one, I guess, caveat, a thing that I would ask customers to really think about is, the Oracle team each sells a different thing. So just understanding that there are two CX platforms, one that comes on premise and one that comes in the cloud. If you were a new customer, you would absolutely consider the cloud. If you're already running a CX application as part of the Business Suite, then maybe you would do something to augment that capability, or you might consider converting over to it altogether. But just knowing that when you go to get information in terms of what your future architecture looks like, you need to look big picture across the entire platform just to make sure that you get the complete story of all the things that are going on in that hybrid environment. So the thing that's near and dear to, I'm not sure anybody's heart, is the licensing side. So, the good news is Oracle's licensing is very flexible, but the bad news is that flexibility can come at a price. It's difficult for many customers to really understand Oracle's licensing model. So the next thing that we really recommend, and we have 3 webinars that are actually part of the series talking about the licensing piece. So I'm going to talk about this very briefly, but just making sure that you know what you own and your entitlements and you know what you're running. Knowing that customizations impact that, understanding things that there are things that you could do. You plug the blue wire into the red hole instead of the blue hole, and so you create a licensing event, really understanding that. So getting your current state of your perpetual licensing is really important. And the reason it's important, not just you want to make sure you're licensed appropriately, but the future state of subscription licensing relies on that. So Oracle is going out of their way. Remember, stock market, Oracle, valuation, they want customers to not be on perpetual. They really prefer a subscription licensing model. They want customers to be in the cloud. So one of the things that Oracle is doing is to try to create ways for you to migrate licenses. You may have a big investment in perpetual licenses that you could actually convert into, they call it BYOL, bring your own license, very catchy, that would actually lower your cost as you convert those into something that you would burn over time and help pay for that infrastructure. They've got as a pay-as-you-go model. They've got what I really love here is the universal credits, because Oracle's universal credit model, which basically says I agree to spend this much money, but I don't know for sure what I'm going to spend it on, gives customers the flexibility to make that commitment to get that price point, but then determine which tools they would want based on the change of the business. There are things that they're going to want to do that they don't know that they want to do until they get there. You do an acquisition next month, oh my gosh, I may need a bunch of integration stuff, or I might need a platform for the next 3 months as I'm doing a migration. So Oracle's providing flexibility. Instead of saying, here's your high watermark and you need to buy to that, they're giving you the flexibility to go up and down. And again, consumption-based compensation, they're trying really hard to make sure that what you're purchasing has a real use case so that you really can use it so that you'll continue to subscribe to it. I know this sounds like an Oracle commercial, but I'm very encouraged by the way that Oracle is handling this whole end of the business. The final thing that Mihir Patel actually is our licensing specialist, he'll be talking about is the governance side. So in some ways, the governance is easier on the cloud side because, I mean, what you're using, Oracle knows what you're using, and you know what you're using, and you're turning it on and off. You have to be more prescriptive. You have to come up with a plan, but it's better to have a plan. It is an asset just like any other asset, and it's very expensive, and it's a very strategic asset. So we want to make sure that customers really do take advantage of those licenses, and they manage those software assets as if they had high value, and they do. All right, so here's really the meat of the matter, the EBS Summit schedule. So the EBS Summit, this is truly a labor of love from us. What we did is we really started working with several of our customers and with the Oracle team starting about almost 6 months ago, 5 months ago. And we actually had talked to Cliff Godwin and his team, and we said, you know what? If customers really have the ability to stay on eBusiness Suite, what would they need to know to be successful? And so we built out a curriculum, which we wanted to make it so that this would be easy to understand, easy to digest. These are all probably 20 to 30-minute webinars, maybe a little bit longer if there's a lot of questions. But the goal, and I'm sorry, I can't help it, EBS is cool again. It's like, you know what, this really can maybe not be your everything, but it can be your system of record. And so what we've done is we built a summit schedule. And of course, we start with our star, Cliff Godwin. If you want to see his webinar, just select here. And then to go down and look at the different topics. So you've got the A Bright New Future for EBS Customers, that's today. Hidden Benefits of Cloud Infrastructure. Al Veach and Mihir Patel are going to be talking about that in detail. Sushil Mitwani is going to be talking about how you can move your EBS system to the cloud. There's 6 different ways, and it could be, boom, take it over. It could be step by step. There's some hybrid approaches that we believe make sense that, you know, depending on your use case, depending on your timeline, depending on your budget, we do believe that customers do want to be in the cloud with most of their software assets, but we also believe that there's a right way to do it. And as you go down, product strategy, the tech licensing, danger and opportunity, how to migrate Oracle eBusiness Suite to cloud infrastructure. So this is going to be kind of a nuts and bolt. If you really wanted to do it, this is what it would look like. Casey Curtis, how to build a roadmap. Casey is the person I mentioned before that had done the article for Profit Magazine and has developed a lot of our road mapping methodologies to say, you know, if we were to move some things to the cloud, then what products become redundant? What services are no longer needed, or what services are needed in addition? Because it's a very different world. It's a very different world. Moving your applications to cloud, whether it's through SaaS or it's through infrastructure, is not hosting. It's a different thing. And understanding what that does to affect your roadmap is extremely important. We talked about migrating tech licensing. We do talk about 12.2 because we do have a lot of customers that are on 12.1.3, and that this next step, middle tier, WebLogic Server, there's some complexity to it. There's some things there, and what does it really make sense? We have had several customers ask us about Amazon Web Service. So we have a webinar specifically on that. We do have one webinar we've added around the EBS optimization, and this is a little plug that most of the SmartDog customers have already experienced, is that we do have diagnostics that look at business conditions, we look at customizations, and we also look at kind of your licensing use consumption that we run on our customers for no charge, because we want to gather that information so we can help those customers. That it tells some really specific things about whether you're overpaying your bills or your salespeople are changing orders after they've been booked or things like that. This is really a cloud strategy session by Sudhakar Maranpalli. And this is actually one that we've had some requests to move this one up as well. So 6 ways EBS customers can save money in 2018. We've seen a lot of strategies from customers that are really specific about saving money today. And it's as much about austerity as it is just trying not to be wasteful. But it's really a programmatic approach that looks across infrastructure and applications, both Oracle and other, kind of mapping of functionality and just making sure you don't have redundant costs either on the application stack or in your support model. And an organizational assessment, which is more on the support side, and then the governance for the EBS licenses. And frankly, we're still learning a lot. The cloud is still a newer thing, so that's one that we're building out. So for us, our belief really is that there's a lot of differences that customers really are going to experience because of the cloud, and that for us, it's really important that you get a sense of what those differences are. And you may learn what those are and say, okay, EBS is toast, I'm done. Or you may go, wow, this could really be our thing. I mean, what we're finding is a lot of customers are saying, you know, this stuff's working okay. I'd rather send my money on something that's going to help me with top line, or help me with a strategic competitor, or help me with some new thing, as opposed to figuring out how we're going to do accounts payable. So in summary, Oracle is moving everything to the cloud, but EBS customers are not left out in the dark. And I think that for a couple of years now, customers that didn't have the ability to go to SaaS did not feel like they were part of the party. So to be clear, Oracle moving people to the cloud is really one of two things. It's either SaaS, which we can promote, or if you're not ready to go, it's EBS applications on cloud infrastructure. The next thing is that Oracle is providing incentives for EBS customers to make the move by extending support, by making the applications better, by enabling application customers to leverage the benefits of the cloud. So if they can't move to the cloud, they can use that elastic model to do two things. It actually gives you the elasticity to move up and down based on your needs, and also gives you the ability to add things on without starting over again. Identity Cloud Service for single sign-on across Oracle as well as other applications. There's Oracle's Integration Cloud Service that lets you connect it to other things. There's Platform as a Service that gives you the ability to take a lot of those technologies that were installed separately, and you can subscribe to them as a service, just like the infrastructure, and turn things on, test them out, and move them into production quickly. It's a very different thing, and the word agility has been overused, but it gives you the ability to really turn things on very quickly and try them out and move them into production. So my ask for you, or recommendation, is we would invite you to join us for the Summit Series so that you can get the information you need to build the plan for the future. And to be honest, we're trying to make this very much, this is not an Oracle sales pitch, it's not a SmartDog sales pitch, it's a lot of information, and it's not all sunshine and roses. I mean, there's some things about new products as they evolve, they change. So there's some new things about Oracle changing their sales model that sometimes makes it hard to understand what the right answer is. We will help customers move through that as quickly as possible as we learn it. We're going through that journey right now with quite a few customers. So, I mean, to me, there's an encouragement that EBS customers, there really is kind of a brave new world. And the reason we called it is the EBS Homecoming Series, because we believe that Oracle really wants EBS customers in a way that maybe they haven't expressed, and they're trying to make it possible for you guys to stay on their stuff so that they can continue to have your companies as customers into the future. So the takeaways for me are pretty simple. Number one, if you don't know what the capabilities are in the applications, you just need to know. I think that the webinar that Cliff Godwin did is a good one. You know, get your training manuals, Stephen Miranda. There's a lot of sources out there for information and blogs and things from SmartDog that we're publishing as well. Know the capabilities of the applications. I was talking to a customer the other day about some of the challenges in mobile field service. And turns out there's a whole bunch of new stuff in mobile field service that's coming that I didn't even know about. So make sure you know what's in the applications. Before you go buy something else, by golly, make sure you know what the stuff you already own does. Number two, it's really important to understand that cloud technology is not hosting, it's different. It's priced different, it's used different, it's deployed different, and it does different things. It does things that you can ask it for things that you could never do before. Things that you didn't think were possible are like easy. So to me, understanding that piece of it is essential. And that's actually the part that makes EBS so attractive, frankly. Number three, licensing. You know, number one, it's an asset that if you don't manage it the right way, you may get like a bad surprise down the road. The other thing is that it's really kind of your bridge to the subscription model, because Oracle's trying to make it easy for you to bring that stuff over to use it so that you can deploy your applications in the cloud. So learn the first three, build your plan based on the facts. And then the final thing is I would say that structure your support org based on your future. So you're going to come up with a different plan of what you're going to run, how you're going to run it, which is going to change the personnel. I mean, when I first started working, every company had a phone guy or gal and a phone closet. Now it's an internet and it's an IP phone you can plug in anywhere. In some ways, it's the same thing. We're going to see a big shift in hardware guys, infrastructure guys, the whole support team and how that works. And I believe a lot of the hard part is going to move more to business intimacy, is going to move to really understanding how the applications work to affect the business. But the bottom line is when you come up with that plan, whatever it is, make sure that you don't assume status quo from the support organization perspective, because it will absolutely be different. So for SmartDog Services, for Scott Eloquin, that's actually all I had for today. And Sushil, I don't know if we had any questions, or if you had any questions you'd like me to kind of talk about.
Yes, we do have 2 questions. Feel free to answer it, Scott, or if you want me to answer part of it, I can. The question was, is Oracle Cloud the only option for EBS, or is there something like Azure that can be used? If Azure can be used, how different is it from Oracle Cloud?
Well, I will tell you that Oracle's trying to make it really attractive to use Oracle Cloud, but I mean, you can absolutely use, you could use Amazon, you could use Azure, you could use Oracle. I think Google has a cloud. I haven't actually seen that one personally. So it is possible to use that. I think it's important to kind of understand the differences. And Sushil, I don't know to what extent you could talk about the differences, but feel free.
Sure. So we're going to be covering some of these topics as part of the webinar series, but just to give you a little bit from an overview, that Oracle Cloud is built for the Oracle EBS database and the Oracle applications. There are certain features that you will get by default if you are on the Oracle Cloud, for which you'd have to purchase licensing on the other clouds. So that's one way of looking at it. There's also a difference in a little bit of, when you attend the licensing presentations, you'll actually hear a lot about that too. So it's obviously a slightly different, but the choice is completely yours. Ultimately, you are the one who's the business is spending the money, and you choose wherever you go. Oracle will work anywhere, just like a hosting provider. There's one more question which says, what are some of the common support structure updates your customers are making when they use OCI?
Well, I think the most immediate thing is that in some ways, customers that are moving to OCI in kind of the MSP model, the managed support provider model, is that they're basically getting rid of infrastructure 100%. There are no hardware individuals. There's no storage guys, there's no network guys, there's no DBA guys. It's really more of a dial tone type of service. So to me, the immediate impact, I think, is more of the, from an OCI infrastructure side, is that's kind of an outsourcing. And in some ways, I've always likened it to, instead of everybody on the prairie having their own windmill to generate electricity, there's a power company and it's all coming from one place. So we're finding that the people don't want to be in the data center business, and this allows them to get out of that 100% and move it to an industrial strength provider. Now, what I'm predicting is that as we move more capability into the cloud, as Oracle's providing integration cloud services, or is providing, maybe Oracle's doing HCM cloud and e-business suite. Now you've got HCM in the cloud, you've got the integration in the cloud, and you've got the EBS infrastructure in the cloud. I do believe that there's some development activities that are going to move to the cloud. I do believe that a lot of the maintenance of those applications becomes more of an infrastructure issue. So, even the autonomous database is moving a lot of those functions that were typical IT functions. And I think it's moving more into the realm of, the nuts and bolts of keeping those things running is no longer going to be an IT thing. It's more of a Oracle thing or an infrastructure provider thing. I will tell you that within SmartDog, what we told our business analysts, we probably did this 2 years ago. We told them that if you're a great order management guy or an order cash guy, you can't just be an Oracle order management guy anymore. You're going to have to be like an order to cash analyst. You're going to have to be a business person that happens to know Oracle eBusiness Suite, because the new order to cash world, it's not, here's order management. I've got, Magento for e-commerce, and I've got, a third-party logistics firm where I'm shipping. I'm trying to integrate into UPS to get tracking numbers, and I'm trying to pull tax rates and foreign exchange rates from third-party entities, and all the while trying to collect credit cards. So to me, what I believe is that the business analyst in the world, in the customer world, is going to be much more of a business job. I believe that honestly, 2005, you ran 11.5.8, you could run that pretty much for your whole business. Well, the new architecture is really a much more complex application architecture. It really is all of those applications that have to work in concert, that have to work together as if they're one system. And I think the working together as if they're one system can be handled a lot by the folks like Oracle and OCI and what they're doing behind the scenes. But the understanding what it needs to do, I think is going to be really a big part of the support function, is defining those business requirements, making sure that it works the right way. Very good. Well, I tell you what, guys, we're really pretty psyched about these upcoming sessions. I know we kind of skimmed across the surface. I mean, when you dig into the meat of the specific things that you need to do in licensing to make sure you're licensed right, and you find out the specific things that you can use in the applications that you didn't know that you had, and you learn all those types of things, I think that, frankly, you'll be encouraged. I think that you'll be glad that you took the time to learn it. And again, if you learn it and decide that EBS is not that big a deal, then that's okay too. But you're now doing that with, eyes wide open, with complete information. And so I encourage you to attend the sessions as they come. If you have any suggestions of other sessions that we should consider publishing, please do. And if you have any comments also, please let us know. If things aren't working or don't make sense, then please let us know that as well.